Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button.
Look, we need to talk about what just happened, because this changes everything for the Blue Jays. I'm not going to waste your time here. The dominoes are falling, and if you're a Jays fan, you need to understand exactly what this means for both Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette right now. Alex Bregman just signed with the Chicago Cubs. 5 years, $175 million. That's $35 million per year, according to Jeff Passan. Now, the Cubs land one of the biggest bats after missing out on him last winter. Good for them, right? But here's where it gets interesting for us. The Blue Jays were heavily linked to Bregman before they signed Kazuma Okamoto, and honestly, I'm taking Okamoto's deal every single time when you look at what Bregman just got. $35 million a year is steep, even for a player of his caliber. But that's not even the biggest story here. Immediately after Bregman signs, this report drops. The Boston Red Sox, after missing out on Bregman, are now turning their full attention to Bo Bichette. Let that sink in for a second. The Red Sox just lost out on two major third basemen in the span of 6 to 12 months. First Devers, now Bregman. What does that tell you? They're going all in on Bo, and that should terrify every Blue Jays fan watching this. Think about the nightmare scenario we're looking at here. Bo Bichette in a Red Sox uniform at Fenway Park. Or even worse, the Yankees get involved. Because late last night, another massive report came out about the Yankees. Their negotiations with Cody Bellinger have hit an impasse. Every report was saying Bellinger would re-sign with New York, but now sources are saying the Yankees are operating under the assumption that he's signing elsewhere. They're looking for additions in other places. Let me break down why this matters so much. If Bellinger goes to the Dodgers or the Mets, that significantly increases the Blue Jays' chances of landing Kyle Tucker. This is a major development. The Jays have been extremely aggressive in pursuing Tucker. You've got George Springer and other guys recruiting him. They're making their pitch both internally and externally. And now, it's starting to work out in their favor. Here's the thing. If Bellinger leaves the Yankees and signs elsewhere, the Jays have one less competitor for Tucker. The Red Sox aren't going after Tucker because they're laser-focused on Bo. The Yankees probably won't either, though there have been some rumblings. Reports say the Yankees offered Bellinger at least a 5-year deal worth $30 million per season, and he doesn't want it. Can you blame him? We just saw Bregman get $35 million. Bellinger's camp is going to want more. This is classic Scott Boras negotiating tactics. And apparently, there's legit beef happening right now between Boras and Yankees GM Brian Cashman. They're going at it through the media, which is wild to watch. Some people are asking if this is all just a leverage play. Remember last year when reports came out that the Mets were done with Pete Alonso negotiations, and then a week or two later he re-signed at a discount? The Blue Jays were super interested in Alonso during that time too, so yeah, there's definitely some gamesmanship happening here. But even if it's leverage, this could still work in the Jays' favor. The ideal scenario is Bellinger goes to the Mets or Dodgers, and then Toronto is left competing with maybe one or two other teams for Tucker instead of a bidding war with 5 franchises. The flip side, though, is if the Yankees aren't going after Bellinger anymore, could they pivot to Tucker? I don't think that happens based on what we're hearing about how they want to spend, but you can never rule it out completely. Now let's talk about what this Bregman signing means for the Bo Bichette market. These are obviously different positions and different players, but Bregman getting $175 million over 5 years sets a new baseline. I could absolutely see Bo getting somewhere between $200 and $250 million now. He's younger, he's a shortstop, and even though Bregman is the better fielder, Bo's value is undeniable. The market has been set, and it's higher than people expected. This is where things get real for the Blue Jays front office. The pressure is on Ross Atkins and the entire organization right now. Yes, they've made the most additions this offseason among AL teams. They've loaded up on pitching, added bullpen help, and brought in Okamoto. But you cannot, and I mean cannot, let Bo Bichette walk to the Red Sox without making another significant move. If Boston gets Bo and the Jays don't get Tucker, that's a disaster. Think about it. Bregman's off the board, and thankfully he went to the National League, not back to Boston. That's good news. But if the Red Sox land Bo and the Jays miss on Tucker, what's the plan then? Sure, you improved the roster this winter. That's still technically a win. But is it really a win when your homegrown superstar goes to your division rival and starts mashing at Fenway Park? That's the doomsday scenario we're looking at. The Phillies are also all in on Bo. They're meeting with him soon if they haven't already, so the competition is fierce. But the floodgates are finally starting to open now that Bregman has signed. I suspect we're going to see Bo and potentially Tucker sign in the coming days or weeks. Teams are going to start making their moves because they can't wait around anymore. You can see why the Jays chose Okamoto over Bregman when you look at the dollars. They got Okamoto for a fraction of what Bregman just commanded. That's smart business, especially when you're trying to make multiple moves. But now they need to close the deal on Tucker. That's where the focus needs to be. The Yankees situation is fascinating too. If they're truly out on Bellinger and seeking additions elsewhere, you've got to hope Tucker isn't on that list. Brian Cashman probably won't go that route given their spending priorities, but the fact that it's even a possibility shows how fluid this market is. Everything is connected. One signing creates a ripple effect that impacts 3 or 4 other negotiations. And here's something else to watch. The Tigers have expressed interest in Lucas Giolito and Chris Bassett, according to Ken Rosenthal and Will Salmon. Detroit might be less likely to add another starter if they lose their arbitration case with Tarek Skubal because they'd have to pay him significantly more than the $19 million they offered. Chris Bassett is a name we haven't talked much about this offseason. I'd like to see him back, but it's unlikely with how many starters the Jays have. If they bring anyone back, it'll probably be Max Scherzer. But the bottom line is this. The Red Sox are going all in on Bo Bichette. The Yankees are in flux with Bellinger. Bregman just reset the market at $35 million per year. And the Blue Jays are right in the middle of it all, with a chance to land Kyle Tucker if they play their cards right. The pressure is on. Ross Atkins cannot afford to whiff on this. Not when your division rivals are making aggressive moves. Not when you've already made significant additions this winter. The next few days and weeks are going to be crucial. This is when championships are built or missed opportunities are created. The Jays have positioned themselves well, but they need to finish strong. They need to close on Tucker and make sure Bo doesn't end up in Boston or anywhere else in the division. That's the mission. That's what matters. The offseason just shifted into another gear, and the Blue Jays better be ready to step on the gas. Because if they're not, they're going to be watching their rivals celebrate while they're left wondering what could have been. Let me know what you think is going to happen. This is getting intense.